Kevin Donnelly, the Senior Vice President of Venues and Entertainment with True North Sports and Entertainment, is gracious enough to be sitting in studio with me today. Thanks for being
Oh,
here.
you're too kind. Great to be here.
At what point is it okay, given hockey, superstitions,
Oh, sure.
don't want to
Yeah.
jinx
Yeah.
anything, to start planning the next season's whiteout parties?
Well, that's always been the criticism that we faced when we first came up with this idea back in 2019. We didn't want to jinx that. We didn't want to temper the favors of whoever controls these things. So we started quite late, and that's been sort of the pushback from the city and people that need more planning time. They're like, hey, you can't change this on a moment's notice. And we would actually say, well, we don't even know the day we're playing. We don't know how many people are coming. So it's been sort of an evolutionary process. Now we know how to do these. The city knows we like to do them. They like them to happen. So we've actually, we start the conversation well in advance so that we're not surprised by it. Nobody can say, hey, I didn't know these were coming. So it's that sort of, that yin and yang of we need to be prepared, but we don't want to upset the hockey gods sort of thing.
Someday someone will explain to me why it is that hockey players are often so superstitious. There's just a thing.
I think sports in general, I think there's a lot of, superstition. Baseball, you hear about it. Football players put X sock on first and the other one after. And yeah.
Well, we've got a hockey fan standing by right now. Hello, Chris. You're on Radio Noon. How are you?
I'm good. How are you today?
I am feeling great, and I'm grateful that you called. What do you want to say about these whiteout parties?
Well, I just think that we should continue with this great venue and this great event, and it just makes us be proud to be Manitobans and supporting such a great team, and it just brings everyone together.
How do you are you planning to get tickets and to attend this year?
I am definitely going to try. For sure.
Definitely going to try. So, Kevin Donnelly, you're here. You're hearing Chris right now. When do tickets go on sale?
Tickets for the playoffs will go on sale to the general public on Monday the 15th. That's if you want to get a ticket in the bowl and you're not a season ticket member yet. Those people that want to buy a package can still guarantee their spot in the bowl by acting now. Janet, they have to jump on it. But the playoff street parties will go on sale next Wednesday the 17th, and then playoff tickets for in the bowl are just before that, Monday the 15th.
5,000 tickets.
For the street, yes.
For the street party. Chris, how do you feel about that need to limit the tickets to 5,000?
Well, I understand where as a venue capacity, it needs to be at something, right? In order to make it safe for everybody to enjoy it and have a great time. And, we have to look out for one, and that's the people that are attending these events. I know the capacity is I believe it's a fair value.
But you're going to try to get tickets.
I sure am, yeah.
You sure are. Are you going to wear a costume?
I don't know about wearing a costume, but I will definitely donning the jersey, for sure.
Good for you, Chris. Yeah, I like it.
And of course, there are things on sale too. I mean, of course, the organization's going to try to make as much money as it can.
Sure, we'll have products for sale. A fully licensed site. The food trucks are there. We're going to sell Jets merchandise. If you come and you're not wearing white and you want to join in, we'll have some white wearables from the Jets on sale. So there is that component to it for sure.
Chris, thanks so much. Is there anything else you'd like to say to Kevin or to other Manitobans about this playoff season?
Go Jets, go!
There you go.
Sums it up so much. Thank you, Chris. All right, let's move on to line 2 and Becky. Hey, Becky, thanks for calling Radio Noon.
Hi, how are you?
I am so glad you called today. So what is it you're feeling about these Jets parties coming back?
You know what? I'm super excited, super proud, super thankful for everything True North is doing for our community. But I'm really concerned because I work downtown in an office and it really ties up traffic, specifically on one of the bus routes that I need to take to get home. So what are the plans in place so that we can coexist comfortably and give downtown the much needed shot in the arm economically, but also not frustrate everyone who's trying to get home on the bus or from downtown during Jets party days?
Fair comment, and we are working with transit. They're part of the planning committee that meets regularly about these things. So much of it depends on the day of the week and the time of the day. Like we could be playing Sunday night at 8 p.m. and then the impact to sort of downtown businesses and offices aren't as dramatic. But we try to get that information on what's closing sooner and get that out there to the public. And again, the impact to transit, we route people around Donald, and there is some real hard closures. So, we do our best to keep our footprint as small as we can and to minimize the impact. We close Donald right at 9 o'clock in the morning typically on those game days, but we try not to close the cross street of Graham where the majority of the buses travel until much later in the day, like 1, 2, 3 o'clock, depending on the start. So we try to really minimize our footprint and minimize the hard closures that we need to set up.
Becky, have there been times that you haven't realized this was happening, that the roads were going to be closed and you just weren't sure where to catch the bus?
Yeah, especially because I need to take one that does make use of Donald. And I didn't realize how far back the Donald Street closure actually was and how early in the day it is. I do thankfully work a bit of a off-peak schedule, so I can zip out a little bit ahead of the crowds. But yeah, it has been a real issue. And
do you have any ideas on how True North could do a better job, or Winnipeg Transit do a better job of getting the information out to you?
Oh, that's a very interesting and good question. I think just saturate us as soon as possible. Like, for example, Winnipeg Airports Authority did an amazing job at Christmas time. I got us to the airport well ahead of time because of anticipating lines. So as soon as Gary Bettman lets us know when we're going to be playing, let us know what the closures are going to be.
And again, I think those are fair comments. And it's funny that the off-peak people are more impacted than the peak people because we do allow the morning rush hour to go through, and we don't start any closures until after that peak morning rush hour. So that is a valid point, that off-peak person, when you think that there may be lesser of them, but they definitely get impacted.
Why do you have to close the roads earlier?
Just the time it takes to set up. We put a stage on Donald. We put 3 screens on Donald, 1 on the stage and 2 further south. So it's just a matter of logistically getting the equipment, getting the cable, the power, the toilets, everything in place so that we're ready to go 2 hours before the puck drops.
Have you noticed that the more times you do this, the more efficient things become?
Yeah, for sure. And we try to get actually a better plan. Like we're always changing the sort of the finer details of the layout, where where a toilet goes, where the food trucks might go, how people line up as they're entering the site. So that stuff, we are guilty of changing it every time because we're constantly looking for improvements.
Becky, have you ever been tempted to just stay downtown and try to take in the fun?
Yes and no. I personally am not a huge fan of crowds, and I have disabilities that make it a little bit difficult to be standing and walking in place for any length of time.
So, Kevin Donnelly, wouldn't a handy transit shuttle, some sort of something down the road be a wonderful thing for folks like Becky? If there was some sort of service that could help folks who have trouble walking that extra distance get there?
Again, another great point, but we do have an accessibility platform that we do elevate people that need to have a better vantage point of the screen.
She needs a lift to the bus. Kevin, you're not busy on those days. Could you just pick up Becky and take her to the... That'd be awesome. Becky, thank you so much for calling in. And on the news, I will tell you, we will do our darndest to get the information out as soon as, not Mr. Bettman, but the team's winning or losing. Set the schedule. We'll do our best to let you know here on CBC, okay? Thanks for calling. Now, on line 7, I don't need to actually tell you what line you're on, Edward, but you're on. Edward, thank you for calling Radio Noon.
My, this is a fantastic surprise that having you on the noon show. I'm an older fossil.
I know your voice.
Yeah, you know me.
I do. We've spoken before. It's nice to hear from you. What do you want to say to Kevin Donnelly today?
Well, the first part is that hats off to you guys that you're reintroducing the call-in program at noon. I miss it. It's, as an older fossil, I heartily endorse that you guys keep doing this more often.
Well, this is day 1.
I'm the guinea pig.
And Kevin Donnelly, bless his heart, he's a busy guy, right?
Well,
and he's here with us today, so thank you again.
Well, maybe that's the best part. Maybe we should leave. I myself am not a part of the sports jock community, and I would think that the CBC should, as far as the kind of call programs that you're having, you should focus the way they did before on all of Manitoba and not just simply a corporate interest.
Well, isn't it lovely that we have Radio Noon and the ability now with phone calls, with Zoom, whatever, it has made it easier for us to reach out and actually hear voices from all over Manitoba. And that's what we're trying to do right now, is hear from people out of town, in town, because as many fans as there are of the Jets here in Winnipeg, there are also folks outside who, cheer just as loudly. Now, 1-800-268-5483 is the number to call. If you are out of town, that's toll free. Get right to me. If you're in Winnipeg, 204-780-0893. Yes, there are some corporate interests here, but what do you think the value is? And Edward, if you're still with us, this question is for you as well as for you, Kevin, in showing our city, which sadly is often the butt of jokes, it's often maligned. Suddenly you turn on hockey and you see 5,000 happy-looking people outside Winnipeg. Do you think, Edward, that helps sell our province and sell our city as a great place you might want to visit someday?
Well, absolutely. I mean, Winnipeg is a great place to come, and I would also say that as far as getting the people together, something such as Manitoba started a whole bunch of years ago, Folklorama, is just one of the stellar things that should showcase Winnipeg in so many different ways.
You're absolutely right. We have so many things. Do we have numbers, Kevin, on what kind of value?
I don't at the top of my head, but there definitely is an economic impact that goes well beyond the footprint of the street parties. And, like Folklorama, that's a great example where you get an opportunity where interests align. Like there's corporate interest, but there's community interest. We're supporting people like United Way and the agencies that they service. So there aren't many opportunities, and I think that this is one of them where there's layers and upon layers of benefits, not just on a corporate interest. It costs True North money to put these parties on. We're happy to contribute. The city's contributing, the province is contributing, economic development Winnipeg. But the benefits go to hotels, restaurants, the agencies that the United Way services. It goes very, very broad.
Edward, thank you for calling. We've got Brent on the line as well. Brent is happy to have the party, but not happy to pay for it. How do you mean, Brent?
Well, I'm not sure how it's all going to play out this year, but I think in past years, the city paid for the police security that was used at the party. And I'm not really happy about that because, we've already subsidized the Jets a lot through sweet deals during the construction and gambling revenue and things like that. I just think if you go to this party, you pay for the party.
And so I would say that the revenues that we receive from the province are far outweighed by the amount of economic impact and the tax benefit, the taxes that we create that support the different that go to the different coffers. And in terms of the policing, we pay now, the first year where it really was a tiger by the tail. We didn't know what we had, and every event grew and grew and grew till we were at 23,000 people. That's one of the reasons why it's not built at 23,000 people now. So we've come up with a formula. It holds 5,000 people. We pay the policing costs directly for that. The $5 a ticket that we retain outside of the $5 that goes to United Way, it doesn't come near covering the costs of putting on these parties. So it's a fair point. We are paying the policing. We pay for all the staffing that goes into these things, and including city permits and costs from the city. So
the city of Winnipeg taxpayers are not going to pay more for policing at these events.
Not again. We are paying. We get the financial grant. The province is giving $75 per round. The city through the Economic Development Winnipeg is doing a one-time $50,000 payment, again, toward the cost of production. But outside of that, the city's not paying anything. We're covering the cost for everything else.
What do you think about that, Brent?
I'm not sure why I'm happy that you're paying for the police, which is probably the biggest expense. But I don't think you're a corporation. You make your money by charging the people the going rate, so on. I don't think there's a need for the city to have, or the province to have, any financial involvement. And it's true that taxes are paid because you exist and things like that. But that's true of any corporation. There's no other corporation in the city that gets the tax breaks and revenue that you do from the province and the city.
And there's very few that generate what we generate. And so
well,
it's a business decision, and so we generate more than we receive, so it's a win.
No, it's not.
Well, it is.
Because pretty well any business could come in and, with the subsidies that you get, do pretty well anything and be generating just as much revenue. There's lots of industries, like our aerospace industry, that generate tons of jobs and taxes for the city. It's, you're a corporation. Pay your own way.
I invite them to apply and get the grants that they're entitled to.
That's the problem.
Brent, thank you very much for your call today. That is something that people will wonder. We've got actually someone, Jake, on YouTube. Hi, Jake. Thanks for watching. Wonders why the ticket sales have been limited to 5,000 fans only. He says other cities doing this don't limit the party attendance. Why? The first year you had it in 2019, you say it was a tiger by the tail. But I remember seeing all the people coming down. Everybody was so excited that everyone was welcome.
That is true. And those events back in 2019 were remarkable, but they were incredibly expensive. And it did involve a contribution at that time from the city, from True North. So we're trying to wrestle that. I would say that other than a fourth round, like I see, you see parties in whether it's Washington or Nashville or some of these other markets that have had outdoor gatherings for the fourth round, every single occasion where there's an outdoor gathering has a finite limit. Like Toronto's 2,000, Edmonton is, I think, 4,000. So wherever the markets that plan these things, that do them, there is a finite limit to how many people can attend.
Can you see changes coming to this formula down the road?
Well, I'd like to see it grow when we get to the fourth round without jinxing anything. I think that we have the ability and we will likely have the demand to grow this capacity of 5,000. So we've agreed to a template that has 5,000 people for rounds 1, 2, 3, and we're all just waiting to see if there's a need to have a further discussion.
How far will we go?
Yes.
How do you feel when it's getting to be playoff time?
It's exciting. I mean, the office gets a whole different buzz. It really, there's pressure. There's pressure on everybody, whether you're, working for the team, getting equipment, or you're on the building, planning popcorn sales and everything else, and, making sure the building's functional and clean. Like, there's just a lot of pressure, but it becomes a fun pressure.
A fun pressure. And how often do you have to get, complaints, deal with complaints? You're not the guy who deals with the complaints over the prices of concessions.
They land just about everywhere, so it happens, right?
It happens, but you do, people are excited. You will have more folks, I would think, watching the games and being proud of seeing the city, seen in a positive light.
Well, we hope so.